Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Elis Adelle. I'm an intuitive and evolutionary astrologer and tarot reader, and today I'm here to talk to you about the full moon partial lunar eclipse in Pisces that is happening on September 17th or 18th, depending on where you are on the planet. Now, this is our first of two eclipses for the season, and what makes an eclipse is its proximity to the nodes, to the north and south node of the moon. Now, it's important to note that the north node is at 6 degrees of Aries, and this eclipse will be happening at 25 degrees of Pisces. So it's a few degrees away, but we're still working with that archetypal energy of the north node in Aries. And this particular full moon is about an embodiment of our higher self and how we practically ground that embodiment into our 3D physical reality. What does that look like? How do we step into that? And there's a few different reasons why I'm led to that conclusion. The first one is a beautiful, beautiful trine that's happening between Pluto at 29 degrees of Capricorn, Uranus at 27 of Taurus, and the Sun at 25 degrees of Virgo. This is a beautiful grand Earth trine that is really beautiful and speaking with the full moon, with the moon as well, because the moon is conjunct Neptune at 25 and 28 degrees of Pisces, which are in a sextile to both Uranus and Pluto. So this is creating a really beautiful, really harmonious water and earth synergy, where we are bringing the wisdom and the kind of disembodied higher self, hard to pin down and hard to define aspect of our psyche and our being that is Neptune, and we're grounding it into our reality. We're grounding it into our bodies. We're figuring out ways of aligning that very kind of mystical, dreamy, artistic, and multidimensional aspect of our psyche into our physical body. Okay? And this is a beautiful union, I believe, of our higher self and also our sacred I, our sacred ego, our sacred individuation process, which is what the North Node in Aries is all about, right? We are at a time right now where it's not about transcending the ego and dissolving the ego, like in many kind of ancient Eastern spiritual traditions teach. It's rather about holding space for both and, holding space for the fact that we are one with Source, God, the universe, that we hold the whole vastness of the universe within us, and at the same time that we are an individuated fractal of that essence, and that each of us hold unique gifts, talents, and skill sets, and we are here with a very well-defined individual presence and perspective, and we are bringing those gifts forward through that individuation process. And this is something that really hasn't happened before in human history. We've either been very far to one end of the spectrum of dissolving the ego and being very connected and united with the multidimensional and spiritual realms, but not having that well-defined I, not having that well-defined individual process. We were kind of in a more unity consciousness perspective where the individual perspective and way of being wasn't fully developed, or in the recent history, we've been on the complete other end of the spectrum where it's very reductionist, materialist. The only thing that exists are the things that we can see and measure, that there is very little connection to the spiritual, to the multidimensional, and only things that are, quote, rational or, quote, real are true, right? And this eclipse is walking that middle path and bringing forth the new future where the spiritual and the scientific are going to be inherently connected, and it's going to become more and more obvious to ourselves and to society that they're the same team, right? They're on the same team. That science is just one way of describing the spiritual, and spirituality is just another way of describing science, right? So this full moon is an illumination about what we need to release and let go of in order to move forward into this new embodied spiritual multidimensional way of being that unites our physicality with our spirituality. And the reason for that, about letting go of certain mindsets and perspectives, is we have Mercury opposite Saturn. Mercury at 13 degrees of Virgo and Saturn at 15 of Pisces. Now, Saturn in Pisces, we've been on this long journey of this fine-tuning of our spiritual self, of the value of boundaries, the value of structures, the value of systems and habits and routines, the value of discipline when it comes to our spirituality and our creativity and our connection to our higher self. So Saturn here in this opposition to Mercury and Virgo is really asking us what kinds of structures, systems, mindsets, ways of being, thought processes, limiting beliefs, what of those very practical ways of existing are no longer relevant to this new embodied way of being, to this new embodied higher self. And a lot of this is probably going to be on a much more practical but also internal persuasion. So this could be something as simple as realizing maybe that you need to switch up your spiritual practices. Maybe this is like you're realizing that maybe that meditation that you've been doing really extensively is no longer as helpful as maybe doing some more embodied type stuff like qigong or yoga. Or maybe could be for some of us certain self-limiting beliefs where we've been holding on to certain paradigms that make us believe that we have to be achieving at a certain level or performing in a certain way or earning a certain income in order to be, quote, successful, right? And in order to allow ourselves to then explore our more spiritual essence. It's a release of all the mindsets and the perspectives and the ways of being that have been blocking or disrupting the connection between our physical, embodied individual self and our multidimensional, eternal soul. So this full moon is illuminating and bringing forth those parts of ourselves that cannot be coming forward with us. And part of this may have something to do with relationship for some of us, right? Because the following eclipse is a Libra New Moon eclipse at 10 degrees of Libra. And what do Libra and Pisces have in common? One of the things that they have in common is a lack of boundaries, a difficulty when it comes to setting limits, saying no, enforcing their perspective in dynamics in a way that honors their perspective for fear of rocking the boat or upsetting the other person. So this full moon, for some of us, may be bringing up certain relationships or relationship dynamics that are not in alignment to this embodiment of the higher self. Okay? This full moon could be bringing forth clarity when it comes to who am I ready to release and let go of? What am I ready to release and let go of? At the same time, there may be a certain fogginess around this full moon. It may not be so crystal clear about who or what needs to be released at the full moon. This is something that's going to be playing out, I believe, throughout October. So the full moon is happening now here late September, and it will be rippling out for, of course, 6 months. That's really what astrologers say, is that usually the eclipses are these kind of 6-month reverberations that we're working with. But I feel especially in the weeks after the full moon in October, when we're dealing with that new moon Libra solar eclipse, that's going to be very connected to this full moon. And so if things are not quite clear as of yet, as of this full moon, don't worry. They will become more clear, especially as it pertains to relationship. Now, another aspect that's happening, that's influencing this full moon, is we are coming off of a beautiful Venus and Jupiter trine, and Venus in Libra and Jupiter in Gemini. And this was also bringing forth some more clarity, some more communication, and some more sharpness when it comes to relationships, when it comes to thought processes, when it comes to self-limiting beliefs, and when it comes to ways of believing and being in ourselves and in others. Okay, so this is a very potent full moon that is opening up space for us to come into our bodies. And when I mean for us to come into our bodies, what I really mean is more of our higher essence, more of our eternal, multidimensional, cosmic soul consciousness to come into our physical body and to be expressed through that Aries North Node in that beautiful, strong, individual leadership role. So it could be very interesting if you work with your birth chart to see where 25 to 30 degrees, or 25 to 29 of Pisces is in your birth chart, and where also 6 degrees of Aries is in your birth chart. These may be in the same house, these may be in different houses. And whatever house or houses these points are in will be giving you clues as to what areas of your life are going to be especially impacted. Wherever 25 to 29 degrees of Pisces is in your birth chart, this is where the embodiment will happen. This is where the new expression is going to be coming into your body, the higher level of consciousness, and where this will be expressing itself. And wherever 6 degrees of Aries is in your chart, wherever that north node of Aries is, this, if it's in a different house from that 25 to 29 degrees of Pisces, if that 6 degrees of Aries is in a different house, the embodiment that's going to be happening in that Pisces part of your life is going to be flavored with the penetrating, forward driving momentum of whatever house that 6 degrees of Aries placement is in your birth chart. So you're going to be asking to be embodying your higher self in a new way, bringing in the skills, bringing in the themes, and bringing in the concepts that pertain to that 6 degrees of Aries point in the birth chart. So this is a very dynamic eclipse, where if you feel the call to work with an astrologer, it may be interesting because it is so multifaceted, multi-layered, all of these, dynamics that are happening astrologically. It could be a helpful time to have someone help you analyze your chart, or it could be a time for you to just do a deep dive in a study into the house or houses that these points fall in your chart, as those house or houses will be extremely relevant for you in the coming 6 months. All right, so let's get one card for this full moon of what we need to know. Let's get one card for this full moon of what do we need to know, just to round out this message. What do we need to know for this full moon, please? Just to round out and complete this message. What do we need to know? Ooh, thank you, thank you. Nature, spirits, elves, fairies, rock formations. Yes, this is that embodiment of the higher self. This is that earth and water combo. This is that the multidimensional spiritual realms merging with the physical. I'm really seeing that beautiful earth trine here in this card. I'm also seeing that conversation, that beautiful conversation that Neptune is having with both Pluto and Uranus. It just feels like this is a very powerful time to be in nature. As when we connect with nature spirits, like trees, like rock formations, like bodies of water, like mountains. These are all essences that very clearly do what we are in the process of doing. Where if you look at a tree, or if you look at a mountain or a body of water, it has its own individuated expression. It is different than the other mountains or the other trees or the other streams. However, it's also carrying, just by existing in its embodied presence, it is carrying its own multidimensional frequency. It's carrying its own higher aspect already within it. The higher aspect of the tree is already embedded in the tree. The higher aspect of the mountain is already in the mountain. The higher aspect of the stream is already in the stream. There is no integration to be done there. It already is carrying both and. It's physically here in our reality, but it's also bringing its own very potent magic, its very own potent expression from those multidimensional realms. And that's what we are being invited to do, is to figure out, am I a stream? Am I a mountain? Am I a tree? Right? What is my unique and authentic imprint? What is my unique and authentic magic? What is my unique and authentic way of expressing, being, and serving the world? And how do I embody that more strongly? And how do I show up in a more authentic and grounded, embodied way? So if you're able to spend time in nature on this full moon, it's highly advisable. Even if it means just taking a walk in your local park, or visiting the tree down the block from your house that you really like. It doesn't have to be getting out into the wilderness, although it certainly can be. And if you are able to, that would be wonderful and advisable. Okay, so with that said, I want to wrap this this message up. I want to thank you if you made it here all the way to the end. If you found this to be helpful or resonant for you, I encourage you to give the video a like, to maybe subscribe to the channel. I would love to have you here for other updates and videos similar to this one. So thank you so much for being here, and I'm sending you so much love. Best of luck on this beautiful, beautiful full moon.